Hello, and welcome to the second episode of Hues of Ace, a podcast. My name is Isabel, and today, as the title suggests, we're going to be talking about Alloromantic, Allosexual, and the split attraction model, often shortened to SAM, or SAM. Now, to understand what SAM or SAM means, we have to know the definitions of alloromantic and allosexual. Essentially, what that means is that allosexual people are not asexual, so that means they do experience sexual attraction. Alloromantic people are people who do experience romantic attraction. Now, this is coming from an idea, the split attraction model, where romantic orientation and sexual orientation is different, or it can be separated. Actually, the split attraction model is used for people who are asexual or aromantic or both, or people who are part of the arrow spectrum, the ace spectrum, or both. So, for example, some people can be aromantic and asexual, while others can be biromantic and asexual, or aromantic and bisexual. And some people choose not to separate their romantic attraction or sexual attraction. So some ace people just say they're ace, which is completely fine, and some just say that they're arrow, which is also fine. Now, what happens with that is that there are some people who think of themselves as more allo ace, so that means people who feel romantic attraction of some kind and are asexual or on the ace spec. Allo-aro, which is basically allosexual aromantic. Also, people can call themselves arrow-ace, but some people also are different parts of the A spectrum. So, for example, someone can be demi-romantic and grey sexual, for instance. Now, there's a lot of different ways to express attraction, of course, and as I mentioned before, some people don't like to be put in boxes, so they don't call themselves different split attraction. They don't split it up in that way. So, for example, there's something called non-SAM arrow, which means that you just identify with being aromantic, and some asexual people also just refer to themselves as asexual. Also, perfectly okay to say, for example, you're panromantic asexual like me. It's perfectly okay to say to someone, "Oh, I'm pan," and then not mention the asexuality, or you can just say, "Oh, I'm ace," and not mention the other part of you. And it kind of depends, I guess, who you're with, or if you're out to anyone, which of course you don't need to be. I suppose it goes the same way for people who are gay, lesbian, straight, bisexual. When I say straight in this case, of course, I mean heterosexual aromantic or heteroromantic asexual. For me, for instance, if I'm talking to someone who I know doesn't really know the LGBTQ plus community as well, I might just say that I'm bisexual, because then I don't need to explain myself. It's easier for me, but it's also easier for the other person to understand and perhaps accept, because you never know. Some people can be interesting when it comes to these types of things. Personally, I only tell people who I consider very close friends, or people who I've met online who I know will understand these types of things. And for me, it's very important that both aromantic and asexual are part of my identity. because for me personally, panromantic describes the kind of people that I love romantically, but asexual describes the type of attraction that I have to those people. So, not sexual, only romantic, for instance. And I feel like a lot of ace people also feel that way, but some, as I said, don't, which is also fine. But it's just an interesting thought to separate the romantic attraction and the sexual attraction. Because, as I mentioned in the previous episode, I do find people attractive. This, of course, is aesthetic attraction. Someone who uses the split attraction model myself, I'd be really interested to know in the comments what you think about the concept of this. Do you like it? Do you think that it's... I've heard some people say it's harmful to the A-spec community, though I'm not entirely sure what that would be, but that's up for debate, I suppose. But I find it really helpful, for me at least, to understand my own attraction to people and how asexuality comes into that and what part it plays. And it's also very interesting to look back on my school life, because right now I'm 23 and of course I haven't been in school for about 5 years. And as I'm figuring all of these things out, I look back and I think it was so obvious that of course I'm asexual. But at the time I didn't have a name for it, so I called myself bisexual at the time. I thought that was fine, I was happy with the label, but again, sexual always sort of made me uncomfortable, sort of weirded me out, and there was all of these sort of sex jokes and things which I didn't really relate to at all. So it's very, for me, my label is comforting, but for others, it can be quite hard to come to terms with, and I'll get to that in another episode. It was for me as well to come to terms with my asexuality, but now I think that I understand more about it, so I think that now it's quite easy for me to be proud and say I'm asexual and that's how it is. But some people, they prefer to go with the Alloromantic term, which is fine. Again, I'm only talking about asexuality so much and not really touching on aromanticism as much as I'd like, only because I am ace and not aro, so I don't have the same experience as other people would have who are aromantic. So I'm sorry about that. As I said, I might bring a guest on. Maybe some aromantic people would like to comment and on the discussion as well. Feel free. Some people feel that the label asexuality or the term asexuality, and just so you know, when I say asexuality, I mean aspec as a whole. Sometimes people use that as an umbrella term, and in this case, that's what I'm using it for. People look at it and go, okay, that's me. And I identify the most with this label that I'm currently choosing, so I'll go with that. But sometimes, again, like I said, they use the split attraction model, but they're not ready to share that information. And if no one is ready, then they shouldn't feel pressured to share that with anyone. Also, I've touched on aromantic asexuals, and again, that could be anywhere from aromantic and asexual, or it could be grey romantic and asexual, or asexual and cubio romantic. There's just so many different things. And again, that label I just said, cupiosexual and cupioromantic, that basically means it's a micro label. So it means that cupiosexual people are asexual, but they do want a sexual relationship as well. So that means they still don't experience sexual attraction, but they might want a sexual relationship. So that's maybe you can say sex-favourable aces. Now, if you don't like that term and you're cupiosexual yourself, please let me know, and I will, of course, respect that, but that's what I found out from my many hours of research on this topic, so again, everyone is different. The same definition applies to cupioromantic, except with the romantic side. Well, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this episode. Again, if I've said something wrong, please correct me. Or you can just leave a comment and tell me what you thought about it, or if there's anything to add to that, your experiences, etc. Again, I am Allo-Ace, so anyone who is allosexual and aromantic, or aromantic and asexual, they can let me know what your experiences were finding it out and the journey. I will be talking about that in a later episode, about my discovery of finding out I'm asexual, which I've touched on a little bit here. Also, I really love how there's this sort of community, especially online, with pride flags and that kind of thing. Unfortunately, there is a bit of aphobia, which is basically aromantic and asexual phobia around, but mostly I've been very lucky and there hasn't been. So if there's any in the comments, I will be blocking you. Just know that and reporting. But I don't think that will happen, at least I hope not. So I really hope you enjoyed this episode. Please like and subscribe. Seems to be the thing you say these days if you enjoy it, and I'll be back the next Wednesday with the third episode of Hues of Ace, the podcast. Thank you. Bye.